On today's podcast, we discuss the day the voting map changed again. Reactions after the Supreme Court's decision, April 29, 2026.
Logging pod starts like a conversation. Cup of coffee with no destination. Just voices trying to understand what's happening across this land. From your stories told to the pages turned. Every question, every word, supported by SheShareStudios.net.
Hello, and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. On April 29, 2026, the Supreme Court issued to 6-3 ruling in Louisiana versus Calais, and that rule weakened the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This time, the focus was more on Section 2 of the Voting Rights, the part of the law that has been used to challenging vote maps. When those maps dilute the voting power of Black, Latino, Native American, and other minority voters. Before this ruling, a voting rule rights challenge could focus heavily on the effect of a map. If a district map weakened minority voting power, that effect mattered. After this ruling, the standard challengers now have to show a stronger connection to intentional discrimination, meaning lawmakers meant to discriminate. That is a much higher bar. That change had an immediate impact. States did not wait. In Louisiana, officials moved to delay a congressional primary election that was already underway, so lawmakers could redraw the district maps. This was one of the fastest and most direct reactions to the ruling. In Alabama, the state moved in a different way. Officials filed emergency motions tied to congressional maps that had previously been blocked by the courts. Instead of passing a brand new map immediately, Alabama used the ruling to try to lift legal restrictions and move forward with maps that had already been challenged. In Tennessee, lawmakers moved toward reshaping congressional districts by calling for an action during a special session. The focus centered around the Memphis-based district, which was a large Black voting population and is currently the only Democratic-held congressional seat in the Senate. In South Carolina, leaders began reviewing congressional maps and discussing possible changings following the ruling. The reporting shows that the state preparing for potential redistricting moves, though not yet finalizing a specific new map at this stage. In Florida, movement had already been underway, but the ruling gave additional momentum. State leadership signaled that they were prepared to revisit and potentially move forward with redistricting decisions tied to congressional maps. In Mississippi, lawmakers focused on judicial districts rather than congressional ones. Plans for a special session were discussed, and the existing court case involving district lines is now being affected by the new standards set by the Supreme Court. Those were the actions. Now comes what is happening in the courts. Louisiana, where the immediate lawsuit was already been filed, and Louisiana civil rights organization, including the NAACP, Legal Defense Fund, the League of Women Voters, and others filed an emergency legal challenge after the state suspended its election to redraw maps. That case is already active. In Alabama, there is confirmed court action, but it's coming from the state itself. Alabama filed emergency motions related to redistricting. That is legal action, but it's not a new lawsuit filed by civil rights groups against the state. In Mississippi, there is a court case filed already in progress involving district lines. The Supreme Court's ruling is now affecting how the case will be moved forward. In Florida, there is already an active lawsuit over redistricting, but it was filed before April 29th ruling and is not a new case created by this decision. In Tennessee, there is no confirmed post-ruling civil rights lawsuit filed as of yet. In South Carolina, there is also no confirmed post-ruling civil rights lawsuit filed as of yet. Today's sources come from Louisiana versus California Supreme Court of the United States. Redistricting battles intensify in the states after U.S. Supreme Court ruling, Associated Press. Republican governors pursue new congressional maps after U.S. Supreme Court ruling, Reuters. Civil rights groups file emergency challenge to the Louisiana election suspension, ACLU. Emergency challenge to the Louisiana election suspension, NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Emergency challenge to the Louisiana election suspension, League of Women Voters. Alabama files emergency motions of congressional maps, Alabama Attorney General. Mississippi case impacted by Voting Rights Act of ruling, democracy docket. Florida voters sue over redistricting plan, Florida, Phoenix. Tennessee and Alabama take steps to redraw House maps, CBS News. Tennessee lawmakers move to reshape Memphis district's axis. States including Florida, South Carolina respond to Supreme Court ruling, ABC News. What ruling means for Mississippi districts, Mississippi Today. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye-bye for now.